We are starting with the first technical session, that is introduction to cybersecurity as a cyber risk management. And it's my opportunity and a pleasure to be here in this platform to share my insights on this particular topic. So, when we talk about cybersecurity, when we talk about information security, when we talk about digital security, so there is a lot of things that are coming into our mind, and sometime over the time we get to know that these are the specific terms and these are the specific points that we used to understand. But the main thing is that as a professional, particularly into the power system or into the operational technology or particularly into the technical infrastructure, it's very important to understand the cyber security in perspective to the risk, to the cyber security risk management. So today session is all about the cyber security and what are the risks to the cyber security, what are the essentials to the cyber security. So these things we will be going to cover today. So in this very first session, I will be taking some of the important things like what is cybersecurity, what is cybersecurity risk, what are the basic risk models, what is the cybersecurity in IT and OT. Also, we will be talking on the NIST cybersecurity framework. So probably what are the major learning outcomes will be like understanding the fundamentals of cybersecurity. We will be understanding about the cyber risk management and strategies, and we will be covering an overview of the NIST cybersecurity framework 2.0. So that's important. The new framework has came. So let's start and understand the very basic and definition of cybersecurity. So whenever we like want to protect the critical assets and we want to protect the critical infrastructure, it's very important to understand this word cybersecurity. But if you just usually work in an office, and there is also a word that is information security. So it's always a difference between information security and cyber security. So before starting my sessions with the cyber security, I'm giving you a brief idea about the information security. See, whenever we talk about data, data can be existed in different forms. Data can be existing in the physical form, data can be existing into the digital form, and data can also be existing into the mental form in someone's mind or someone. So when we talk about information security, we have to take care of all these things, whether it is a physical data, it is a digital data, or whether it is a mental data. So if we talk about like there is a very important framework, that is ISO 27001 framework. It's a certification standard, and the full form is usually we used to say is the ISMS, Information Security Management System. It is not cyber security, it is information security, because it is also taking care of your physical data, okay, the data which can be in someone's mind into your organization. So when we talk about information security, all these things are broadly important, but when we talk about cyber security, the main concern is the digital data. Okay, so the digital data which is available with the person inside the organization is basically an important part for the cyber security. So if we talk in the terms of mathematics, so this whole set is basically information security, and there is a subset we called as a cyber security. So cyber security is basically a information security subset, and if you talk about network security, then definitely network security is a subset to cyber security. So in this way, the whole hierarchy will come down. So what is cyber security? So when we are going to protect the internet connected systems, including hardware, software, data from any cyber attack or any type of malicious attack or any type of task that is not legitimate in terms of the organization information security policy will be termed as a breach of cyber security. So when we talk about cyber security, there are certain important points that we need to consider, that is safeguarding the sensitive information, ensuring the business continuity, and protecting against financial losses. Just now, Singh Saab has focused about the very importance of the Security Operations Center. So when we talk about Security Operations Center, I think so in the upcoming classes there is a whole topic of this Security Operations Center. So the main aim of the Security Operations Center is to safeguard the sensitive information, to ensure the business continuity, and to protect your financial losses. So this is a very important topic, and whenever we are studying the cyber security, so we cannot forget this very important topic, that is a CIA triad. Okay, so CIA triad is a very important topic, and I know some people have already know about it. Some people already having a better idea about it. But what I personally feel is that if you are starting a new session, if you are starting something from the very scratch, so this CIA is an essential part, and we cannot skip this down. So when we talk about CIA, the full form of CIA is confidentiality, integrity, availability, and I used to say it as a goals of cybersecurity. Okay, I used to say it as a goals of cybersecurity, because at the end of the day, what we are actually we want to ensure the confidentiality of data, we want to ensure integrity of data, and we want to ensure availability of data. So CIA is basically the goals of cybersecurity, and as a cybersecurity practitioner, as a cybersecurity consultant, as a cybersecurity user, it's very important to understand this very important terms. So confidentiality refers to protecting information from unauthorized access. Integrity means that the data should not be altered even intentionally or accidentally, and availability means data are accessible when you need them. Just take a simple scenario that this is one person and he is using a mobile. Okay, from his mobile he send an email to some person, and that person is opening that particular email onto his PC or somewhere. During this data transfer, there is a attacker who is sitting here, and he basically reads the data packets. Okay, so because everything in internet is a packet, and this packet is basically malformed, or maybe the content of the packet is being changed and sent to this particular person. So in this particular case, the integrity is the main point that is being hampered, because the data is expected to be shared in such a way so that the integrity should be maintained. So this is a very important part. So the CIA means confidentiality, integrity, and availability is a guiding model in information security. A comprehensive information security strategy includes policies, security controls that minimize threats to these crucial components. So whatever we are implementing, whatever we are going to study in this 100 hours course is basically focusing on this CIA. We have to protect the CIA, we have to protect the confidentiality of the data, we have to protect the integrity of the data, we have to protect the availability of the data. So this is the very important part that is we are going to discuss. And what is a CIA triad? So just a pictographic description I am doing. So confidentiality basically meticulously controls and restrict users and device access to data. Integrity ensures data accuracy, reliability, trustworthiness, and authenticity. Confidentiality guarantees that all data shared with the users can be accessed in a timely manner. So what are our goals? We have to protect our data. We have to ensure that whenever we require the data, it is available to us, and the data should not be tampered, maybe in a transit or maybe at a rest. So we will be discussing in a few slides ahead that how the data in transit and how the data in rest is basically impacted. So let's start with this very first topic, that is confidentiality. So as we already studied, confidentiality means the data is available only to authorized user. Okay, and who will going to authorize? The organization will going to authorize as user. It carefully controls, verifies, and restricted access. So basically data encryption, whenever we are doing data encryption, it's a part of confidentiality. Data classification and labeling is a part of confidentiality. Access control is a part of confidentiality. Multi-factor authentication is a part of confidentiality, and strong password policy is a part of confidentiality. So whenever we are studying this very important topic, that is confidentiality, so these can be the proper controls. So I have jotted down some of the controls that are very much important when we talk about confidentiality. So data encryption, data classification, labeling, access control, MFA, strong password policies and management. So these are the controls. So there is a new word, control. What exactly control means? Control means how you implement. How you implement the confidentiality. So how you implement confidentiality? Data encryption can be a way. Data classification can be a way. And what are the other ways? Like access control is a way, multi-factor authentication is a way, strong password policy. So all these are the important ways that are used to implement the confidentiality. So controls means to implement something we need to have a set of rules. Okay, so set of rules means controls. So when we are putting down some set of rules to implement something, it is called controls in cybersecurity. Because if you learn any of the standard, whether it is a ISO, whether it is a NIST, whether it is a COBIT, whether it is a Microsoft some Purdue model, or anything you study, everywhere you are going to come down with the controls, and understanding these controls is a very important part. The second part is integrity. Okay, the second part is integrity, and integrity is the very essential part when we talk about particularly into the cybersecurity, because the entire issue is nowadays is about the integrity. Whether it is a malware, whether it is a ransomware, whether it is some data exfiltration, maybe is a some data is leaked. So major issue that is coming down is integrity. So when we study the integrity, there is the very important point that we need to understand, that data transfer. So data transfer usually happen in two ways. Probably through some internet or through some controlled space, maybe some your internal LAN or some your dedicated VPN or something. So at any place these type of data manipulation can be happen. And usually when we talk about data it exists in two particular areas. First is the data at rest, and second is data in transit. Okay, so what is data at rest and data in transit? So whenever we work upon data at rest means that the data is lying into some hard disk. Okay, so when we talk about data at rest, it means that the data is lying into some hard disk, into some floppy or some CD or some DVD. And when we talk about data in transit means that the data is basically transferring over the internet. Maybe you are uploading a picture onto the WhatsApp, or maybe you are using some email to send the copies of your files to someone. So both type of functionality needs different controls. Okay, so both type of functionality need different controls. Like if you are using data, if you are considering data at rest as your primary focus, so maybe a antivirus, a anti-malware device and anti-malware solution can help you out. But when we talk about data in transit, these anti-malware solutions are not very important. Then we have to talk about firewalls, we have to talk about IPS, we have to talk about IDS. So basically we have to understand that at what level of data we need to have what particular device. Okay, so at the firewall level we cannot expect antivirus is enough to protect my entire network, and at the endpoint level, on the PC level, we cannot ensure that only antivirus can be helping. So in this way the integrity is a very important part. So what are the important parts to ensure into the integrity? We should log the records. Digital signatures is a very good option. Version controls, hash functions. So these are very important when we talk about the integrity. So integrity controls that are broadly used, we can use some digital signatures. If you know, like recently we have filled down our ITR. Okay, so there are two options. Maybe you can use the Aadhaar based authentication, or you can use your DSC. So what basically this is basically a type of MFA, multi-factor authentication. You have already have a password of your ITR, but you need a OTP to fill the final ITR. So basically multi-factor authentication. Also income tax department, it is asking that you can attach a DSC with it. Okay, the digital security key. So in this way you can use all these functionality. So when we talk about digital signature, so it can use two type of encryption. So one is a symmetric encryption, one is the asymmetric encryption. So currently this particular topic is not here to be discussed on the very first session, but definitely in the upcoming sessions we will be talking on the topic, on the very important topic, that is a cryptography. We will be talking on the symmetric encryption, we will be talking about the asymmetric encryption. We will also cover the key pairs, public keys, private keys. So all these things will be covered in the upcoming sessions. Then logging and auditing records. So logging and auditing record is a very important thing, because if you are not logging and auditing record, the integrity, if whenever it is changing, you are not able to find out. Then we have a version controls, checksum and hash functions. So this hash function is basically the part of the cryptography, and we will be covering the entire part in the upcoming session. So integrity is basically ensure that the data is not changed during the transit or in rest. So this is the major functionality that we are expecting from the integrity. Then we have availability. In availability, the main concern is that the systems are available. Okay, the systems are available. And this CIA, like we are understanding the CIA, and since you all are from the critical areas, working into the power sectors, working into the critical infrastructure, so availability is an important part. But when we talk about IT and OT, the priorities are different. In IT, CIA, in which C is most primary focus, confidentiality is the priority, but into the OT, the availability is the priority. So this is the major difference between the IT and OT, and in the upcoming slides we will also be covering what is the difference between IT and OT and how IT and OT can impact. So when we talk about availability, so data is accessible for authorized user even in case of system failure, loss of other emergencies. So we can put down firewall, proxy servers, backup systems, HA means high availability, HA clusters, disaster recovery and incident response plans. So these functionalities will help us to ensure the availability. So what are the controls when we talk about the availability? So availability controls are very much important. So so let us discuss about the availability controls and use cases. Okay, so what are the availability and the use cases are like firewall and proxy servers, redundancy strategies, backup systems. So these all are the controls through which you can ensure the availability of the system. So disaster recovery plan, that is a DRP, HA clusters, incident response plans, IRP. So these important areas that must be ensured during the availability of the system. So it's very important to ensure that the CIA, what is the goal? We have a goal, that is a CIA should be ensured during the entire journey. Now we will talk a little bit about the threats to the cyber security. Okay, so we will talk about like what are the threats to the cyber security, and what can be the issues that usually we are facing into the cyber security. So like malware is it's one of the area, phishing is also one of the area, ransomware is one of the area. So these are like not the exhaustive list, but these are the major threats to cyber security that are very much important. So like software designed to harm or exploit systems, fraudulent attempt to obtain sensitive information, malware that encrypt data demanding payment for decryption. So these all are the type of threats that we are facing. So when we talk about malware, so malware is a very big family. Okay. So whenever we talk about malware, malware is a big family, because usually what we are saying when we are into our office, or when we are using some system into our home, what we are saying usually that I'm having an antivirus in my system. Okay, I'm having a antivirus in my system, but if I say that antivirus is just a 1% area that the malware is covering. Okay, so virus is a type of software that is having a malicious intent, and it is absolutely triggered by the user, and it replicates itself. Okay, so virus is something a part of the malware. And when we talk about malware, so malware is a family. Malware means a piece of software that has a malicious intent. So virus, worms, trojan, spyware, adware, ransomware, fileless malware, rootkit, botnet, keylogger. So these are the important areas that you can understood that are the part of the malware. Okay, so we will study one by one that what is a worm, trojan, spyware, adware. So maybe there is a chance that some people already having knowledge about it, but since we are starting this session from the very scratch, so we will be covering each and every aspect. Okay, so virus is basically a type of a malware. It's a type of a malware that is having malicious content. It is basically designed to harm your system, to steal the credentials from your system, to steal the data from your system. Also, it is usually run by the user. Now, the other type of malware, that is a worm. So worm is something that spreads between computer in one company or location. So usually when we have a networks which are connected to each other, and these worms are basically the malwares that are spreading inside your networks. The third type of malware that we are going to discuss is basically trojan. So trojan is something which is looking legitimate, but actually it is not. So important point is that trojan is looking legitimate, but actually it is not. I'm just giving a small example about the trojan, that if you are downloading something from the internet, and at that particular moment you are downloading some software, some pirated software usually. So with pirated software, let us suppose you are downloading Microsoft Office. So 99% of the home users in India are not using the licensed version of the Microsoft Office. So what is happening when you download the Microsoft Office from the internet? What is happening actually? You are also downloading some of the trojans, and once they are downloaded, it start activating a lot of malicious activity into your system, and you could expect that lot of new functionality may be added to your system, which can be a malicious part. So trojan is something which is looking legitimate, but actually it is not. Spyware is something which is designed to steal your data. Okay, so whenever software is there who is designed to steal your data is called as a spyware. Then we have a adware. Adware spam you with ads. Like nowadays, if you see, if you just go to some website like Make My Trip, Yatra.com, or any of the website, and at that particular time you are just searching a flight from Jaipur to Mumbai or Delhi to Chennai. So what's actually happening? You are getting a lot of ads into your email and all. So what is there? Basically, these all are the type of adwares which are not harming you directly, but they are compromising your privacy, because they know what are your plans on the upcoming days, on which dates you are trying to travel, you are planning to travel. The sixth important part is ransomware. If you remember the recent ransomware attack in India, that is in AIMS. So ransomware is something which is focusing on data at rest. Okay, so it is focusing on data at rest. Why I am putting the word specific data at rest? Because if a file which is lying into your hard disk, and when it is encrypted by some ransomware and you are not able to use it, it means it is impacted by some ransomware, and that ransomware is asking you to pay some payments or something. Okay, so this is like a usual issue, and most of the times phishing is the like important area through which these ransomwares are spreading. Okay, so the other part of the malware is a fileless malware. Okay, so fileless malwares are nowadays in very much operations, and they are sitting into your RAM. Okay, so they are sitting into your RAM, and they are operationalizing lot of C2 IP communication, command and control IP communication. They are accessing a lot of critical resources into your system. They are just eating up your memory spaces, making your sectors, making your clusters of your hard disk corrupted. So these fileless malwares are now becoming a big issue. Now coming to the other part, that is a rootkit. So rootkit is basically give remote access to your device. So rootkit is something a type of malware. If it is installed into your system, the attacker or the adversary has access to your system. If you know about a tool that is a metasploit, so metasploit is basically putting down some of the payloads into your system. You can use metasploit to import or push some payloads onto the victim's computer, and then you can access its shell. Okay, so shell or some CMD functions you can execute even from the remotely. So rootkits is a very important area when we talk about the malwares. The other part of malware that is considered as a botnet. So botnet is something that making your system work as a robot, or I could say as a functionality that is not helping you, but it is doing work of someone else. Like if you now if you recently remember, there is a very very buzzword, that is a data mining. Okay, so what is data mining? Basically data mining is done to generate the cryptocurrency. Okay, so data mining is done to generate the cryptocurrency. And how the data mining is done? Data mining is a software, or you can consider as a script that is running onto someone's PC. Okay, so that is running onto someone's PC, and that PC is basically consuming the resources. So what the attackers have thought, they have given a thought that why don't we create a script that run on someone's other computer. So maybe your or my computer can be used as a system for the data mining. Okay, so maybe your system or my system is can be done for the data mining. So basically I am working on my system, but my system is doing data mining and giving the output to the attacker. So this is basically the botnet malwares are, because they are considering turn your PCs into puppets. So whatever the criminal is asking your system to do, they are basically doing. Then last but not least is the keylogger. Keylogger are seriously a big issue, because it is basically recording the user activities. Most of the time users are they are recording the user activity, they are recording the passwords, whatever username, whatever the credentials you are sharing. It is basically credentials are being stolen through the keylogger. So these are the important parts. But the question is that how these malwares come down to your PC? How these malware come down to your PC? This is a very big question. So here the answer is the phishing. Okay, So most of the times when we talk about the fileless malware or some Trojan ransomware or something, we are doing our best. Okay, we are doing our best. We are studying a lot of things. Everybody is doing and implementing a lot of antivirus, anti-malware devices. But phishing is something which is like taking and working with your emotions. Okay, so emotions are very much important during the phishing. So when we talk about emotions, though basically we are having we are undergone two type of emotions. That is first is a fear. Okay, so first is a fear, and second one is greed. Okay, so fear and greed are the two type of emotions that are basically exploited into a phishing attempt. So phishing is a type of cybersecurity threat that targets user directly through email, text, or direct messages. During one of these scams, the attacker will pose as a trusted contract to steal data like login, account information, and card information. So basically, in a phishing attempt, they are trying to show them as a legit person. Okay, they are trying to show them as a legit person. So phishing is a type of social engineering attack. So what is social engineering? Social engineering means they are stealing your social data which is available over the internet. Okay, so because like most of the people are into the Facebook, we are into the Twitter, or we are we are working in a lot of organization, and we are sharing lot of organization data nowadays onto the LinkedIn and all. So all these data are basically captured using the OSINT. So OSINT is a very important term nowadays. That is a open source intelligence. Okay, so it's not a technology. I don't use a word technology here, but it is a methodology through which the information that is available about you on the internet is basically used and extracted by the attacker to curate a dedicated and sophisticated phishing attempt on you. Okay, so phishing is a type of social engineering attack where a cyber criminal use email or other text-based messaging to steal sensitive information. So basically, by using a believable email address, an attacker aims to trick the target using the trusting them. Now, we used to say that I am just checking the mails. Like if I say my email ID is admin. I'm getting an email from admin at the rate like abcd.com. Okay, so let us suppose there is a company ABCD and he is owning a domain abcd.com. So if an employee is receiving an email from admin at the rate abcd.com, earlier it was thought that it is a legit, but nowadays if the domain is not DMARC protected, okay, so there is basically email security. SPF and DMARC are two type of security mechanism that is available. So if the email is not DMARC protected, then also you can get the legitimate mails, but actually it is an illegitimate. Okay, so if you are in an organization working in a critical infrastructure, so just check with your IT team whether your email services are having this DMARC protection or not, whether they are having SPF protection. So just ask them a question. So because this can be a possible cause of your phishing, because what we can check, we can check the domain. Like if I am getting a domain from gov.in, okay, it's like rljan@gov.in. So it is looking legitimate, like gov.in is a very reputed email. But if gov.in is not having a DMARC, it means that the protection of the email server is not there. Okay. So what are the different ways for doing the phishing? So as we have discussed, like basically the fear. Okay. The fear and greed are the basically 2 points that are going to be targeted during a phishing attack. Okay, so fear and greed we have discussed. So a phishing attempt can be done through an email. It can be a spear phishing. It can be a wishing, link manipulation, smishing, or content spoofing. So these are the ways through which the attacker can do some cyber attack or something, or send you a malicious link. So email can send out, attacker can send you an email. And spear phishing means when attackers target a specific business or individual. So whenever targets a specific business or individuals are targeted, it is called as a spear phishing. Now when they are using phone calls, okay, so when they are using phone calls, using calls like nowadays you are getting a lot of calls, I am from this credit card company, we are giving you this amount of loan. So all these types of the phishing attempt are considered as a phishing. Now there is an important type of phishing attempt that is going on, that is link manipulation. So attacker hide links in email using various techniques. Okay, so maybe it is written like www.google.com. Okay, but when you just hover your mouse onto this, you will see that the link is redirecting to some another link. So what does it mean? It means that a lot of new areas are being invented by nowadays by the attacker, and most of the times they are using these new methodology to do the phishing. Then we have another word, that is smishing. So smishing is something when you are using some SMS or some text message, and there is also one more word now introduced, that is curishing. Okay, QR code. So the QRSHINNG, curishing. So curishing is something the attacker is pasting down some of the QR codes at different places, and people are asked them to scan, maybe by giving them a fear or giving them a greed, and they are directed to some particular link, and that link can be a potential malicious link. So in this way there are many ways the scams can be happen. Now how to prevent from this? The 4-step process, that is a step. So stop before you click, think about the sender, that who has sent, examine the message, provide a report. So this is like 4-step process, just step, think, examine and provide, because it will make you easy to understand that how the cyber attacks is now and how the cyber attack is happening these days. Now we will start with the very important topic now, after completing the phishing, after completing the CIA, after understanding the important definitions of cyber security. So now we'll understand what is a cyber risk. So the definition of cyber risk is the potential for loss or damage to an organization due to a cyber attack or data breach is basically a risk. So what is a risk? Risk means what I can lose. Okay, so the risk is what I can lose. Okay, so if somebody is doing some share market, some trading or broking, or if somebody is driving his car at the speed of 170 or something, so there is a risk. In high speed driving, there is a risk that during a crash a person can die. What is the risk during a trading? Probably the shares got down, or he got a financial loss. And what is the risk into the cyber security? So what is the risk into the cyber security? The biggest risk into the cyber security is data theft or data loss. So both the things are there. The data can be theft, the data can be lost, data can be deleted. So there are a lot of risk that is available into cyber security. And what are the impacts of these risks? Whenever we talk about the cyber security risk, what are the impacts? So impacts can be financial, reputational damage, regulatory penalties. So what is the financial loss? Because if an organization is a critical infrastructure like power sector or something, and if the entire power sector is down, if the the continuity of the electricity is impacted. So it will end of the day putting a financial loss, reputational damage, regulatory penalties are there. But specifically to the power sector, there is a word we used to say it as a CPS, cyber physical systems. I'm writing down cyber physical systems. What it is mean? It means that the systems which are using the data to manipulate a physical system is basically a cyber physical system, and that's the partial definition of the operational technology also that we will cover in the upcoming topics. So what are the factors contributing to the cyber risk? So we have jotted down some of the factors that are contributing to the cyber risk. So there are certain internal factors and also there are certain external factors. So we will see one by one that what are the internal factors and what are the external factors. So internal factors are employees negligence or insider threat. So it can be an internal factor, lack of security policies or training. So it is also an insider factor. External factor means cyber attacks from hackers or nation state. See, nowadays there are basically two color are like focusing on us. One is a green and one is a red. Okay, so I'm not speaking the name of the country, but these two colors are usually focusing a lot of the countries. So these two color countries are making attacks on many areas, and these can be probably an external factor. Third party vendor vulnerabilities are there. Okay, so these third party vulnerabilities are a very important part. Okay, so let's talk about like identifying cyber risk. So it's a very important topic. Like first of all, we have to understand the cyber risk. So in the previous slides, we have discussed that what is a cyber risk. So cyber risk, we have got down that if there is a data theft or is there, if there is something which can impact your entire data life cycle, which can impact your confidentiality, integrity and availability, it means it could be a potential risk to you. Okay, and we have also already discussed like what are the factors contributing to the cyber risk. So two type of factors we have discussed, like internal factor and external factors, and now we will be going to understand that what is the what are the cyber risk and how we are going to identify them. Okay, so now we will discuss this very important topic. So how you are going to identify the cyber risk? So there are two basically options, two basically processes, two methodology available, that is a risk assessment process and common vulnerabilities. So we will see one by one that what is risk assessment process and what is the common vulnerabilities. So when we talk about the risk assessment process, first of all, we have to understand that what are the assets, okay, and what are the vulnerabilities. So there is a process that we called as a risk assessment process, and that entire risk assessment process is used and carried out in any organization to understand the potential risk to the particular asset. So risk can be onto asset or onto a process. Okay, so there are two type of risk assessment usually. First is a asset based risk assessment and second is a process based risk assessment. So in the asset based risk assessment, what we are doing, we are classifying the assets into critical or non-critical, and then what we are doing, we are giving them the scoring on the basis of CIA. Okay, and then we are giving the scoring on the basis of CIA. In the case of process based risk assessment, what is basically happening that how this process is basically going to impact my business. Okay, so let us suppose that there is a process that the regular patch management is there. Okay, so it's a process. Now if patch management is not done properly, or if somebody is just doing the patch management in not a proper way, so how it will going to impact me? So we are going to study both type of risk, that is asset based risk assessment and process based risk assessment. So firstly we have to identify the assets, processes and vulnerabilities. Then we have to analyze the potential threats and impacts. See, whenever we talk about risk, there are two major areas, that is the potential threats and impacts, because an asset has a particular threat and that threat has a particular potential impact. So all these things are very much important, that assets should be not studied alone, it should be analyzed in concurrence with the threat, and in concurrence with the threat it should be studied with the relevant impact. Okay, so impact, threat and asset, so these all things are closely knitted, and we have to understand that all these areas should be covered in a proper way. Then the other point is common vulnerabilities. Okay, the common vulnerabilities are unpatched software, we have weak passwords, we have misconfigured systems. So in this way you can consider these important areas that can be treated as a common vulnerability. So if you have a system and you are not updating it, just a simple vulnerability data system, if you are not updating it means it is you are basically generating the vulnerability and enhancing the vulnerability, increasing the vulnerability. If you are putting weak password, like you are putting like ABC123 or NPTI123, CBIP123, so these are the potentially weak passwords. I have not included a particular sheet, but there is a study that has been done, that a 16-digit character, okay, nowadays it's taking not more than 12 to 13 hours to break down. Okay, so there are a lot of tools like John the Ripper, and there are other tools, Hashcat, which is basically copying the passwords from your systems. So if you think that your Windows computer are safe with the password, so just for your information, your passwords are saved in the form of NTLM hashes in a particular SAM. SAM is a type of a hive, a registry hive, and this SAM, if being exported by an attacker, so he can directly have an access to your password. Okay, so sometime if time permits, we will do in some practical session that how these type of attacks are basically happening. Then misconfigured system, this is the very common vulnerability, misconfigured system. Okay, like we are implementing the antivirus, we are implementing the firewall, we are implementing the IPS, IDS, so all these devices we have implemented, but the fact is that if you are not configuring it properly, if you are not configuring your firewall properly, if you are not configuring your IPS properly, IDS properly, so it is of no use. Until unless you do not configure the system, most of the times what I personally found is that the firewalls are into any phase, like any traffic can go to any port, any traffic can go to any IP. So if this is the configuration, then why we are installing a firewall of 80 lakhs or 99 lakh rupees into the system? Okay, so in this way we can see that these common vulnerabilities should be covered. So now when we talk about the risk, we have talked about risk assessment process. See, we have just covered a basic introduction to the risk assessment process, and then just hold for a minute, please. Yes, sorry for the interruption. So we will be talking about the basic risk models. So what are the basic risk models that are available? See, whenever we talk about cyber security, And when we talking about risk, so risk is always helped to analyze using some risk model. So what is the definition of a risk model? So what is the definition of risk model is, if something is helping you in your daily work, it can be it can become a model for you. Okay, so risk model means that what are the available frameworks, what are the available set of rules, set of instructions which are there, and which can help you out in assessing the important parts of your cyber security, helping you in assessing the important areas into your cyber security as a threat, and which can help you out to understand that what are the probable risks, what are the probable areas on which you work, because that particular area is still a part of some unattended process. So risk model are very much helpful. So what are the important risk model that we are going to study? That is the NIST CSF. So in today's session, we will be studying about the NIST CSF cybersecurity framework, particularly 2.0. Okay, that is the latest version that we are going to study today. Then there is a model called as Octave Operational Critical Threat Asset and Vulnerability Evaluation, and there is one more model, that is a fair factor analysis of information risk. Then we have a certain model like ISO 27001. So basically we all know about 27001. So 27001 is a information security management system. Okay, so information security management system is 27001, but when we talk about the risk management, so 27005 is specifically taking care of the risk management. Okay, so risk management is a very important part. Then we have ISACA's COBIT. So COBIT is a very much framework. Then we have a SOC 2, SOC 3. Then we have a certain frameworks like HIPAA. HIPAA is a very important framework. Whenever we talk about health industry in USA, in America, when we talk about the health industry, HIPAA certification is required. Okay, so this is also a risk model. Then we have a bow tie analysis, risk management framework, and Microsoft Stride model. Okay, so Stride model. So these are the common security frameworks, risk models that are available. So what is a 5-step risk management process? So now we will study a little bit about the risk management process, that what are the 5-step risk management process. Okay. So I will request, if you have any questions till now, you can just drop down into the chat box. So let's go ahead and study about the risk management process. So risk management process is basically a 5-step process that start with the identification, then analysis of the risk, evaluation of the risk, treatment of the risk, and then monitor and review of the risk. Okay, so in this way it's a 5-step process. So first of all, we need to identify the risk. Okay, so first of all we need to identify the risk. That what is a risk? So before identification of the risk, first of all we need to identify the asset. Okay, so in the previous point you have seen that I have talked about two type of risk assessment. One is a asset based risk assessment and one is a process based risk assessment. So if you want to identify the risk, you have to find out that what is the asset and what is the process. Okay, so what is the asset and what is the process, and after assessing the assets and the process you will identify the risk. Okay, so in this way the first step of identification is covered. After identification of the risk, you will analyze the risk for the potential impact. Okay, after analyzing the risk, you will do the potential impact. You will analyze that what is the potential impact. Okay, that what is the potential impact, how, if this particular risk is being materialized, then what can be the potential impact. So this is the way you have to do the risk analysis, means assessing the likelihood and impact. Okay, so when we are doing the risk analysis, so two very important terms that we usually cover is basically likelihood and impact. Okay, so let us take an example like there is a building, and in this building let us suppose there is a building of 4 floors. Okay, so the important area that we have talked about the identification of the risk, then we have talked about the analysis of the risk, and after analysis of the risk we have to evaluate the risk, that what is the probable likelihood, what is the probable impact. Then after evaluation, during the evaluation we are basically doing the required task for the risk, and then we have a treating the risk. Treating the risk means we are basically resolving the risk. Okay, so we are resolving the risk. Then we will do the monitor and review, that how the resolving the risk is basically done, what is the potential betterments into the organization has taken, is the actions that we have taken for the reduction of the risk, is it really worthful. So these are the important points that we have to consider, and basically it's a cyclic order. Okay, so if you go to this picture, it is basically a cyclic order, and you again go to the identification of the risk. So it's a never ending process. First to identify, then you do the basic analysis, then you prioritize the risk, then you treat the risk, and then you monitor the risk. And whenever we talk about risk, and we have done down the risk treatment, we have done down the risk evaluation. So there is always a question that is coming into our mind, that what to do with the risk. Okay, so what to do with the risk. So there are basically 4 options that are basically available to do with the risk. That is either you can accept the risk, you can avoid the risk, you can transfer the risk, or you can reduce the risk. So let us discuss about this very important concept, that how and what is the meaning of these particular words. Because whenever you are doing a risk assessment, whether you are doing the risk assessment on ISO 27001 framework, or whenever you are using some framework which is like COVID framework or ISACA framework, the entire framework is focusing on these risk mitigation methodology. Okay, so it's just a small introduction about the risk mitigation. Like, if let us suppose there is a risk, and the risk is that the operating system into a PC is very old. Okay, so the operating system into the PC is very old. So basically what we can do, we can accept the risk and we can replace the OS. We can accept the risk and we can replace the OS. So this is the methodology. Like you are accepting, like this is a risk that the operating system is very old. So it's a simple methodology, just replace the operating system. So this is just an example of replacement or accepting the risk. Then there is an option like avoiding the risk. The second option is avoiding the risk. What does it mean? Let us let us take an example. There is an office, and in this office there are two systems. Okay, there are two systems, and both of the systems are still using Windows 7 operating system. These both systems are using, let us suppose two systems are there, we are both using the Windows operating system. Now what is there, these both systems are using Windows operating system, and the operating system is not updated now. As we all know that Windows 7 is already the end of life, so they are not giving any type of support. Now in this particular case, what is the issue, that these systems are not doing any critical work. Okay, so these systems are not doing any critical work. In the previous example, the PC, this PC which is on which we are accepting the risk is doing some critical work. Okay, so now in this particular case we can avoid the risk, that okay, there is a risk but it will not going to impact me, because in the risk analysis we have to always understand the impact and the likelihood. Okay, so what is the likelihood? Likelihood means that how much time that risk can be materialized. Like if I talk about a risk, like a threat is like there is a one threat, earthquake, and one there is a one threat, let us suppose take an example, any malware. Okay, so there are two type of threats, malware and earthquake. So just tell me that which is having a high impact and low likelihood. Okay, so high impact is basically of earthquake. If earthquake came, the entire building will be collapsed, but the likelihood is very less. If you see number of cases in a country, probably in last 50 years or 60 years, 5 or 10 earthquakes has came. But in the other side, malware. Okay, so malware is having a high amount of likelihood. Okay, so we are daily seeing that my system is getting some malware, my office system is getting a malware, but the impact is very less. Okay, so the impact is very less because we are using some anti-malware devices or anti-virus solutions. So the point is that how you are treating the risk, because if the risk is impacting you a lot, you have to accept the risk and you have to treat. If the risk is not impacting you a lot, then you can avoid the risk. The other third mechanism is to transfer the risk. Okay, so the third mechanism is to transfer the risk. What does it mean? That you can, like there is a word insurance, or you can do AMC. Like there is very old system and you are not interested in maintaining these systems anymore. So you can do a AMC annual maintenance contract, or you can go for a cyber insurance, or you can ask some system integrator to take care of it. So in this way, basically you will transfer the risk to someone else. The fourth option is basically reduction of risk. So what is the meaning of reduction of risk? That 100% you are not able to resolve the risk, but partially 50 to 60% you can resolve. Okay, so basically it is something which is less than the accept. Okay, so acceptance the risk is little bit higher from the reduction of risk. Okay, so if you see the colors, both are into the green color, and that is why it is put down into the green color, because they are nearly of the same phase, but the type of impact is basically shown here. If you see to this particular picture,
so just quick.
we have talked about four type of risk treatment methodology. So now we are going to talk on to the on some example that how we can accept the risk, avoid the risk, transfer the risk, and reduce the risk. Okay, so let us suppose we are doing a risk assessment, and risk assessment is basically doing on a server. Okay, so risk assessment is doing on a server, and server is using let us suppose Windows 2000 version. Okay, Windows 2000 version. The risk assessment has done, and after the risk assessment it has found that the Windows server is basically end of life and no more patches are basically available. Okay, so no more patches are available. So if you just refer to this previous slide, what you can do, it's all depend on the impact and likelihood. Okay, so impact and likelihood is basically help you to find the risk scores, and this risk score will help you find out that whether you are accepting the risk or whether you are treating the risk or whether you are not treating the risk. Let us suppose the impact value of a certain risk is let us talk write a threat also, what type of threat it is. Okay, so in first case the threat is earthquake. In the second case, the second case is some DDoS attack, and in third case there is a SQL injection attack. Okay, SQL injection attack. So now we have to understand that what is the impact, likelihood, and the total risk score what we are getting. Okay, so after this we are able to understand the entire analogy. So if the earthquake is a high impact, so I am scaling from 1 to 5. Again I am scaling here from 1 to 5. Okay, in the likelihood. So impact for the earthquake is high, but likelihood is very much less. For a DDoS attack, the impact is average, but likelihood is very high. For a SQL injection, the impact is also high and likelihood is very high. So the risk is basically impact into likelihood. So the impact likelihood scores are something like 5, 10 or 16. So now in this case, for particular risk, so the threat earthquake is creating a risk score of 5, the particular DDoS attack is creating a risk score of 10, and the SQL injection is giving a risk score of 16. So now you have to find out your risk acceptance criteria. Okay.
So how did these numbers come?
This number. So now we have to find out the risk acceptance criteria for any organization. Let us suppose the risk acceptance criteria is 14. Okay, so it can be any number. I am just taking an example, the risk acceptance criteria. So you can see the risk acceptance criteria, let us suppose there is a risk acceptance criteria of 14, and in one case the earthquake has a 5 risk, DDoS is having a 10 risk, and SQL injection is having a 16 risk. So if risk is more than 14, okay, if risk is more than 14, then you have to treat the risk. Okay, if it is less than 14, you have to avoid the risk. Okay, so it's basically a qualitative analysis. It's basically a quantitative analysis that by putting the methodology, by putting the proper methodology of impact, likelihood, understanding the basic concepts, then we are going to decide that what we are going to do with the risk. We have to accept the risk. Okay, so in case the risk is 20, we have to accept. In case we have a certain risk of 5, we can avoid that risk. Sometimes there is a problem that let us suppose we are having a DDoS risk. Okay, we are having this particular DDoS risk. Okay, so DDoS is basically distributed denial of service, that somebody is pinging your computer. Just if somebody is doing sending you the SYN packets using a SYNAC attack. So what you can do, if you have not having a particular capability to do that, what you can do, you can transfer the risk. Okay, how you can do the transfer? Like there is a services Cloudflare. Okay, you must be knowing about Cloudflare. So what you can do, you can publish your website behind the Cloudflare. Okay, so if somebody is trying to ping your website IP address is not available with him. Actually, Cloudflare is becoming one barrier as a proxy server between the normal people and your website. So your website is not publicly available, and it is basically the Cloudflare is becoming a barrier between you and the public facing websites. Okay, so in this way you are basically transferring the risk. Another part is that reducing the risk. Okay, so maybe you are not able to 100% reduce the risk. So what you can do, you can put down some firewalls into your environment. You can put down some IPS, IDS. So any type of methodology you can put down. So probably first you have to decide that I am going to accept the risk. If it is acceptable, try to do the acceptance of risk. And if it is not as per the requirement, like if this particular risk, earthquake, it is just a score 5. If the earthquake is just a score 5, so what we can do, we can avoid that risk, that okay, we are just accepting this earthquake risk. But if the risk score is very much high, like in this particular server which is having a Windows 2000, and if no patches are available, it is already into the end of life. So what we will do, we have to treat these DDoS attack risk, SQL injection attack risk. So in this way, these mechanisms are used to understand the risk acceptance criteria. The important part is that in most of the organization is implementing any of the framework, like ISO 27001 or something. So ISO 27001 is saying that you have to create a risk register. You have to create a risk register, and this risk register will helping you out to do this entire risk assessment process. Usually the frequency of these type of activities is 6 months to a year, and as per the organization requirement, these to be done. See, because if we talk about ISO 27001, the ISO 27001 is awarded in year 1. Then on second year it is having a surveillance audit, and on the year 3 it is again having a surveillance audit. So before going for a surveillance audit, you have to again review your risk registers. Then again going to go for a second surveillance audit, you have to review your risk registers. So in this way you can understand this risk register analysis of the risk. All these areas should be done in every 6 months.
Sir, score of
like if I say, if I am in Japan, okay, so in Japan the likelihood is very much high, impact is same. If a earthquake came, the 5-story building will collapse in India or in Japan. But the point is that in Japan the likelihood is very much high. Okay, so the important thing is that what is the likelihood? So in a country where the earthquakes are very less, then definitely it's a low likelihood. And if a country which is having a high likelihood of that particular threat, then the score will be rising. DDoS attack is usually just making your system down. Okay, and but it is not doing any type of data exfiltration. It is not doing any type of data theft. So basically impact is little bit low. But if we talk about some cross-site scripting attack, some XSS attack, so the probability is a little bit low as compared to the DDoS, but the impact is very high because some remote code can be executed by the attacker from his side to you. So in this way, the impact is a little bit high on certain attacks. So it's all depend on the how the risk assessment process we are doing. Okay, so let's go ahead and see this very good picture that I have found it for you, like 5 basic methods for risk management. Okay, so if you see in this particular picture, okay, so what is the best way to transfer the risk? Like you can do some insurance, cyber insurance or something. Okay, and you can share the risk. Okay, like you can give a AMC to someone that you take care of this much of area because I don't have such capability. And you can avoidance of risk, that in case you do not want to take that particular risk, then you can avoid that. Okay, I'm not interested right now because it is not impacting me much. So in this way you can do this risk management. See, risk management itself is a very big topic. If I tell you, it will take around 2 hours dedicatedly for the risk management, because we have to create the risk registers, we have to do the risk treatment process, then we have to do the asset based risk assessment, process based risk assessment. So definitely in upcoming sessions there is a separate session where a lot of discussion will be done to understand the nitty-gritty of this particular risk assessment. So how to do the risk assessment? So cyber risk assessment tools. So what are the cyber risk assessment tools? We have penetration testing is one way, vulnerability scanning is one way, security audits is one way. So these are the options that are available, like stimulating attacks to identify the vulnerability. So what we are doing into the penetration testing? We are doing a prototype attack. We are just trying to simulate some cyber attack onto your system so that you can understand that how your system is responding. Okay, so you can see that how the system is responding, and in the vulnerability scanning you are finding the gaps. Okay, so there is a big difference between the PT and the vulnerability scanning. So in the vulnerability scanning we are finding the gaps, and in the PT we are trying to exploit. In the penetration testing we are trying to exploit. In the vulnerability testing, vulnerability scanning, we are trying to find out the gaps. Let us suppose there is a Windows server and it is running some 7.2 version, but 7.4 version has been released, and the system integrator, the system manager has not updated it. So due to this non-updation, there is a vulnerability exists, some gaps exist, and these vulnerabilities can be exploited by an attacker. Okay, so this vulnerability can be exploited by an attacker. So penetration testing is a way by which you can simulate the attacks. Also some automated tools are there to do the security weakness, like OWASP, ZAP is a tool, and NIST nowadays is a tool. OpenWAS is a tool. So there are a lot of tools, and even you can do the manual vulnerability analysis also. Also, security audits is an important part, like comprehensive evaluation of the security practices. Okay, so comprehensive evaluation of the security practices, you can go for the ISO 27001 audit, because these audits will help you out in finding the probable gaps into your implementation. So these are the important methodology that you can use. Also, you can use like cyber risk matrices. Let us suppose there is a server number 1, you are doing a VAPT on it, and after VAPT you find that the version of server operating system is not appropriate. So this is a risk. This is a risk that the server version is not appropriate. So if you update that particular server version, it means you are treating the risk. If you are not updating the server version, it means you are avoiding the risk. Okay, and if you are giving some third party to update the server, is basically you are transferring the risk. Okay, so in this way you can understood this particular
Okay. Well, sir, one query.
Okay, so let's start and come to this like final topic. That is a cyber risk matrices. It is just a way to measure that how we are doing. Okay, so it is just a way to measure how we are doing. KPI we all know, key performance indicators. So measuring and monitoring of cyber risk is a very important part. So if you remember in this previous slide, this is the fifth process, monitor and review. So monitor review is the fifth process, and it is also one of the important process, because if you are not monitoring your risk properly, then you are not able to map your risk properly. Okay, so measuring and monitor cyber risk, KPIs are there. So matrices to track risk management and effectiveness. You can measure your risk as in the KPIs. Also, you can use risk heat maps, like a visual representation of risk levels. Like if you see in this particular picture, the red are basically my high risk zone, yellow are something my low risk zone, and green is my something like acceptable risk zone. Okay, so why I am doing this, like if you go to the core, okay, so core is having servers. So servers are always a high risk zone for me. Laptops and desktop are a high risk zone for me, smartphone, tablets. But if I am using some SaaS, if I are using some public servers, so what does it mean? If I am using this particular public server SaaS, it means I am using some third party service. I am using some third party service, because SaaS is something software as a service. It means you are on a cloud. So basically you are transferred, you have already transferred your risk to someone else. If you are using public server, it means you have already hosting your applications on some another server, and security management is basically now the task of someone else. So in this way you can create these type of heat maps. Okay, and also there are some unexamined risk. So there is always a space in the heat map which is taking care of the unexamined risk. Okay, so in this way you can find what are the options available. Then we have networking asset, storage assets. So all are these parts of the risk management matrices. Now there is a very important topic, that is cyber security of IT versus OT. So whenever we talk about IT, whenever we talk about OT, there is a very fine line difference, because nowadays there is a digital age, and we all are talking about the DX, that is digital transformation. So what is IT? So let in simple terms, if I like to explain you what is IT. So IT means information technology, and in a simple word, in a single word, it is about data. So IT is about data, and when you use this data to operate something, it becomes OT. Okay, so if you are using your data to operate something, it becomes OT. So in this way we have to understand what is the difference between the IT and OT. So IT focus on data and information security, and OT focuses on physical device and processes. So if there is a RTU, if there is some SAS, if there is some HMI, if there is some DCS, and these devices are taking a decision based on the data. So data is basically IT, but these devices are considered as the OT. So basically what's the issues into the OT environment is that they are legacy, because they are not easy to like change, because they are too much expensive. Safety and reliability concerns are there. So that's why OT is becoming a big challenge, and entire world is facing this, and nowadays lot of digital transformation is also going on. So when we talk about IT security practices, we have to take care about like what are the common IT security measures we can take. We can put down firewalls, we can put down IDS, IPS, antivirus, malware devices, encryption and access control. But on the other side, when we talk about the OT, the methodology is something different. Okay, so we have to work on the log collection, network segmentation, asset inventory. Although these all are the parts of the IT also, but some areas like network segmentation, regular patching, updating of control system, real-time monitoring, so all these are the important areas when we talk about the operational technology. So whenever we talk about the integration of IT and OT, So this is a very important topic, because why we need an integration of IT OT. The main focus why we need an integration is bridging the gap. Okay, so bridging the gap, like implementing unified security policies, cross training IT and OT personnel, utilizing integrated security platform. See, it's very important that when you want to run a OT system from a IT system. So okay, so you need to push some data from this particular IT to OT. Okay, and definitely cross training is also required. Utilizing integrated security platform is also required. So in this way, you can understand that different OT environments are nowadays connected to the IT environment, and these IT and OT is creating a huge convergence. Okay, they are creating the huge convergence, and this convergence is basically evident that the air gap is basically breaching out. So now there is a new word that I am want to introduce is air gap. Okay, so sometimes some people say that air gap is a myth. Some people say air gap still exists. So air gap means if your IT is not talking to OT in any case, it means your systems are air gapped. If you see to the CEA guidelines, CEA cyber security guidelines, it is stated that your IT and OT system should be air gapped. It means your OT should not talk to the IT. Okay, in any of the guidelines. Also, when we talk about the OT, the industrial control, industrial automation and control systems, we have to take care about the safety instrumented system, process alarm system, basic process control system. So these all are the areas that are controlled by the people and process. Okay, so people and process. So basically we have to understand that everything should be implemented by the people, process and technology. So technology is always there, and people and process are the main backbone who will be implementing all these IT and OT digital transformation work. Okay, and what is the base of the entire ICS security is Purdue model. So whenever we talk about ICS, whenever we talk about the OT system, the Purdue model cannot be neglected. So Purdue model is a structural model for industrial control system security that concerns segmentation of physical processes. So what it is saying, that there should be a segmentation of physical processes. Okay, that sensors are on some different level, supervisory controls are on some different level, logistics are on different level. So if you see the next slide, you can understand that what is the importance of a Purdue model. So if you just go to the level 0, so level 0 is basically the sensors. Okay, so level 0 is basically the sensors. Okay, so whatever the sensors you have into your process automation is basically at the level 0. These sensors are basically pushing out the data to your RTUs. Okay, and these RTUs are pushing the data to your HMIs. These HMIs, SCADA or any of the Wi-Fi devices is basically sharing your data to the historian, and historian is giving to the application server or something, and then it is sent to the enterprise server. So what the Purdue model is saying, that between each layer there should be network segmentation. So proper network segmentation should be there between each layer to ensure the air gap. Okay, so to ensure the air gap, Purdue model is saying that there should be enough gap between the two. Okay, so if you see level 0 and level 1, there is no gap, but after this level 1 and level 2, there are a lot of gaps which are available, and every time you need to put a security device, whether it is a software based firewall or some hardware based firewall. So these all devices should be implemented. So if you see to this particular picture, it will tell you that how the particular things are planned into a Purdue model. So it is starting with level 0 and going to level 5, and in the level 0 it is talking about the physical areas, then basic process control areas, supervisory controls, some manufacturing zones, management zones, and on this side you can see that what are the security mechanism you can put down. Like you can put your network in serial and ring, wired and wireless network layer 2. You can put a firewall, site firewall, internal segmentation is required, boundary firewall is required, and these are the different like areas of concern: physical security, access control, automated guided vehicles. So these are the technology that you can put down to create a layer of segmentation between the both two. Now we will taking just a last slide, that is introduction to NIST cybersecurity framework. So it's a voluntary framework for improving cybersecurity and risk management. It is widely adopted by the organizations and is providing a common language for cybersecurity. One thing that I want to mention here is that it is not a certifiable standard. It is not a certifiable standard. It means that any organization cannot say that I am NIST certified. The certified standard is ISO 27001. COBIT is a certifiable standard. SOC 2 is a certified standard. SOC 3 and PCI DSS is a certified standard. Your HIPAA is a certified standard. But NIST is not a certifiable standard. Okay. So this is like a basic difference. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I have a query.
Okay. So this ends.
Why?
So if we want to understand this particular NIST framework, if you can see, it is a 6-step process. Basically, one layer of govern is embedded in this 2.0. So currently we are in a 2.0 version, and in 2.0 version, previously it start with identify. Okay, so in previous version it is starting with identify, and identify, protect, detect, respond and recover. But now in 2.0 particular version they have added this governed layer also. So NIST cybersecurity framework is now with a core of governed. Governed means governance. Governed means governance, that every stage the governance should be there. If you are identifying, there should be a governance. If you are protecting, a governance should be there. Governance means policies. Governance means procedures. Governance means guidelines. Governance means your how to do the work. So these all areas are covered in this NIST framework, and this is basically called the NIST cybersecurity framework core, where we have these certain functions. So govern, identify, protect, detect, respond, recover are the functions, and these functions are particularly having some categories. Okay, so govern has some categories, identify has some categories, and each category has some other subcategories. Okay, so the main aim of the NIST framework to scope the organization profile, gather the needed information, create the organization profile, analyze gaps, create the action plan, implement action plan and update the profile. So this is the entire essence of the NIST framework, and it is also providing you the CSF tiers. What do you mean by CSF tiers? CSF tiers means cyber security framework tier. It is the only framework which is telling you that on what stage you are. Okay, because it is showing you the maturity level, like tier 1 is less mature than tier 2, Tier 2 is less mature than Tier 3. Tier 4 is less mature. Tier 4 is the highest maturity level. So after the evaluation, you can find out like I am on this particular tier and I want to mature my organization to go to Tier 3. So what are my gaps? What are my works that I need to fill up these gaps? So all these things are covered in this particular cybersecurity framework that is provided by the NIST. So if you can see this picture, this is basically covering the major functions and categories. So in governed function, we have organization context, risk management strategy, roles, responsibility, policy, oversight, cybersecurity, supply chain, risk management. So if you can see, this governed is not having any of the technical controls, but all the procedural controls. Procedural controls are available in this governed. In identifying the asset, identifying the risk, protecting the asset, protecting the data, protecting the technology. Detect function is taking care like what is happening into your system, continuously monitoring using some SOC. What are the advanced event analysis? In respond, after the incident, you are doing some forensics, how you are doing the incident analysis, reporting, communication with the respective stakeholders, incident mitigation and recover, incident recovery plan execution, and your incident recovery communication. Like you are having some CCMP document, cyber crisis management plan, so it is part of this recover plan. So this is like a basic introduction to this particular framework, and now I would like to have questions if any. Please post your questions into the chat box, and this is the end of the session. We will be responding on the chat. Thank you.